You know, there are conversations we all tend to avoid, the ones that feel too heavy, too real, or maybe just too difficult to put into words. But here's the thing about those unspoken topics. When we finally bring them into the light, they often lose their power to scare us. And that's exactly why we need to talk about something many of us notice but rarely discuss. The subtle changes that can signal a loved one, or even ourselves, may be entering life's final chapter. Now, I want to be clear from the start. This isn't about fear or doom and gloom. It's about awareness, compassion, and being prepared in the most loving way possible. Because when we know what to look for, we can respond with greater kindness. Make the most of our time together and ensure comfort and dignity when it matters most. So today, we're going to gently explore 4 of those quiet signs that often go unnoticed or unmentioned. The kind of changes that might seem small at first but can mean something deeper is unfolding. These aren't meant to alarm you, but to empower you. Because knowledge, even about life's most tender transitions, is a gift. Let's begin with the first sign, one that often creeps in so slowly we might miss it entirely. 1. The slow retreat from the world. Have you ever noticed how someone who was once so engaged, chatting with neighbors, calling family regularly, or never missing a weekly card game, starts to pull back? At first, it might seem like they're just tired or need more downtime. But when a loved one begins consistently withdrawing from social connections, hobbies, or even casual conversations, it can be more than just fatigue. This gradual retreat often happens because the energy required to stay engaged becomes harder to muster. The body starts prioritizing its resources differently, and social interaction, which once felt effortless, now feels like work. You might notice shorter phone calls, fewer outings, or less interest in keeping up with news or family updates. What can you do? Meet them where they are. Shorter, quieter visits might feel more manageable than big gatherings. Reminiscing over old photos or listening to favorite music together can be comforting when conversation feels like too much. Most importantly, don't take the withdrawal personally. It's not about you. It's simply the natural turning inward that often accompanies this stage of life. 2. The changing relationship with food. Here's something that often surprises families. A loved one who once cleaned their plate at every meal might suddenly seem indifferent to food, or they might crave only certain simple foods, maybe toast, pudding, or tea, while leaving more complex meals untouched. This shift happens for several reasons. As the body's needs change, appetite naturally decreases. Medications can alter taste buds. Even the simple act of chewing and swallowing can become tiring. But here's what's really important to understand. At this stage, forcing food is rarely helpful. The body knows what it needs, and often it's seeking comfort rather than nutrition. Instead of worrying about balanced meals, focus on making eating pleasant. Offer small portions of favorite foods without pressure. Keep things easy to eat. Finger foods, smoothies, or warm soups can be gentler. And remember, shared ice cream or a spoonful of honey can sometimes nourish the heart more than a 3-course meal ever could. Now, these first 2 signs, the social withdrawal and changing eating habits, often come hand in hand with something even more subtle but equally meaningful. It's about time and how the perception of it begins to shift in beautiful but unexpected ways. There's a quiet poetry to how life unfolds in these later years. A slowing down that's not just physical, but almost spiritual. And if you've spent time with someone navigating this season, you may have noticed how their sense of time starts to feel different. Not in a worrisome way, but in a manner that almost seems to defy clocks and calendars altogether. 3rd, time becomes fluid. Have you ever sat with an older loved one who effortlessly drifts between decades in conversation? One moment they're telling you about their childhood home, and the next they're speaking as if a long-gone parent or spouse just left the room. This isn't necessarily confusion. It's often the mind's beautiful way of making all time equally present. You might notice they lose track of recent events but recall old memories with startling clarity, nap more during the day and become wakeful at night, speak about deceased loved ones as if they're nearby. This temporal shift happens because the brain starts prioritizing emotional memory over short-term recall. Those deeply ingrained memories from youth and middle age remain vibrant, while yesterday's lunch becomes hazy. How to respond? Enter their timeline with them. If they mention wanting to see their mother, try "tell me about her" rather than correcting them. Keep a gentle routine, regular meals, soft lighting at dusk, to provide anchors without rigidity, and cherish these conversations. You're being given a window into the most cherished chapters of their life story. 4. The body's silent preparation. Now let's talk about something even more rarely discussed: the physical changes that occur as the body begins its gradual transition. These aren't signs of distress, but rather the body wisely conserving energy for what matters most. Cooler extremities. Hands and feet may feel cooler as circulation prioritizes core organs. Changes in sleep patterns. More time spent dozing, sometimes with eyes partially open. Decreased need for fluids. The body's thirst signals diminish naturally. Brief moments of clarity. Often a surprising burst of energy or remembrance. What's most important here isn't monitoring these signs like a checklist, but understanding their purpose. The body isn't failing, it's adapting with remarkable intelligence. Your role isn't to fix or reverse, but to provide comfort. Offer light blankets rather than worrying about cold hands. Let sleep come and go without strict schedules. Provide sips of water or ice chips instead of pushing fluids. This is where hospice nurse wisdom shines. Don't just do something, stand there. Your calm, loving presence matters more than any intervention. Now, as we've moved through these subtle signs, from social withdrawal to the body's quiet preparations, you might be noticing something important. None of these are emergencies. They're gentle whispers, not alarms. And that brings us to perhaps the most tender realization of all. You know, there's something profoundly sacred about bearing witness to life's natural completion. It's like watching the tide go out, not something to stop or fear, but a rhythm to observe with quiet reverence. And just as beachcombers know to look for shells revealed by the receding waves, we too can learn to recognize the gifts that appear during this tender time. What we often discover is that in these final chapters, life becomes distilled to its purest essence. All the accumulated years seem to settle into what truly matters: a held hand, a familiar voice, the comfort of a favorite blanket. The noisy distractions of the world fade away, leaving only fundamental human connections shining bright. If there's one lesson these signs teach us, it's this: dying isn't so much about leaving life as it is about returning to love in its simplest form. The body knows this instinctively. That's why you might notice your loved one seeking constant physical contact, even if just a hand resting on theirs, responding to familiar voices more than conversations, finding comfort in gentle touch or soft textures. This is the time when your presence matters more than your words. Sitting quietly together, playing their favorite music from youth, or simply maintaining a peaceful environment, it become the most precious gifts you can offer. As we come to the end of our conversation, I want to leave you with this thought. Recognizing these signs isn't about predicting or rushing anything. It's about being fully present for whatever time remains, whether that's days, weeks, or months. It's about exchanging anxiety for awareness, fear for tenderness. When we understand these natural changes, we stop seeing them as frightening and start recognizing them as part of life's most intimate transition. We become better companions on this journey, not trying to lead or follow, but simply walking alongside with love. If this conversation has touched you, I'd be honored if you'd share your experiences in the comments below. Your stories might comfort someone else going through similar moments. And if you found this helpful, consider passing it along to someone who might need it. Sometimes the most caring thing we can do is help others feel less alone. Remember, in these tender times, there are no perfect words or perfect actions. There is only showing up exactly as you are, with an open heart, and that is always enough. Thank you for being here, for caring enough to learn, and for bringing such compassion to life's most sacred moments. Until next time, May you find as much grace in the letting go as in the holding on.